Hello everybody, this is Jasmina again, and in this video I am going to talk about hidden and inverse sirens. There is a theory or a consideration when you're looking at Chi charts. Now, lots of charts also have this Fan Yin and Fu Yin idea, and it has to do with how the chart is arranged. A Batsa chart doesn't look like a house chart, but a Chi chart does. But this does not use the Feng Shui Chi chart. And it might be because that wasn't developed until after this idea of hidden and inverse sirens was developed. Now, only some masters are even concerned with this concept. Some don't use it at all. And that is not, let's say, out of a reasonable thing. I think they're quite reasonable when they choose to ignore it, especially if they've done enough testing to know that you don't have to worry about it. fengshui.com, that website, discusses some of the issues with the hidden and inverse sirens, and you can go to their site and put in sirens, and I think you'll find this. They do some strange things. They can create contradictory interpretations of a given chart, and that's a little disturbing. The more disturbing thing is they, in some fundamental ways, behave differently than the rest of Feng Shui. First off, they break this yin and yang concept, which is one of the primary tenets of Feng Shui. So this is very disturbing. And this is enough to make you question whether or not the person doing this knew what they were doing, or that is the one who developed this whole idea, knew what they were doing. However, the predicted downside of one of these sirens is pretty significant. So it's worrisome enough that maybe we should at least look at it. Now, sirens can occur in any single sector or even in all sectors. And the most concerning sectors are if the siren is in the facing or sitting sectors. And the other sectors, it's not such a worry. But you also must have Sha Qi in that sector for a siren to be activated. So as long as you have no Sha Qi around your house, you don't have to worry about this at all. Now, this only affects the facing or sitting star. It does not affect the base star. And here we're talking about your flying star chart. The weirdest thing about it is that if you have an inverse siren in all sectors, somehow that's supposed to nullify any bad effects. But that's not true of the hidden siren. The hidden siren, that's the worst case scenario where you have all of your sectors having a hidden siren. So that right there was enough to make me really question this. One thing that people who are masters who talk about this, they all agree, an activated special formation can override any of this. And so if you have an activated special formation, you should be fine, regardless of what you have outside your house. In terms of at least the sirens, you still have to be concerned with Sha Qi. And it's very clear, if they're talking about these four, everybody agrees they override any of the sirens, and you don't have to worry about them if you have the activated form of any of these four. Now, they don't talk a whole lot about some of the less overriding formations. These four formations make all stars become timely in all periods, in all sectors. This is based on just your facing and sitting sectors, these two. And they don't have an overall form or overall effect on all the stars in the house. but it does improve the house to have this. I think that it's possible that it can work. And I give you an example. If we have an on mountain on water and you have a siren, whether it's hidden or inverse, in the facing star, in the facing sector, I would say that this presence being activated in here for the on mountain on water, you have to have water in the front and mountain in the back. So if you have water in the front and you have this, I think you're good. But if it's a siren with a sitting star in the facing sector, I don't think it has an effect because the sitting star is not involved in the facing sector for this formation. That's the way I understand it. But I have not found any independent confirmation of this. Now, there are other forms that do affect the stars in your natal flying star chart, and they're the Hertu elements and Hertu guas. I don't see anything written about this or talked about, but I would say that if the star is involved in the proper way, it could actually help mitigate some of this. But I have no confirmation of this either. So let's go to an example of a hidden siren. Now, this has to do with a Fuyin chart. And a Fuyin chart is one where the two stems in the Chimen, each of the 8, because this is only on the outside, the 8 Chimen palaces are identical. Well, actually, even in the center, they're identical too. And this is how you recognize a Fuyin chart. In Feng Shui, this means that the stars are in the original locations compared to the Lo Shu, and this is considered a hidden siren. And even though there is such a thing as a Feng Shui Chimen chart, this is not what we use. We look at the flying star chart. So this is the Lo Shu chart, and here's an example of a period 8 northwest 2 or 3 facing house. And these are the stars for that. Here we have a hidden siren. We have a 6 here, and we have a 6 here. And because it's in the facing sector, there's serious potential. And that potential is a risk to health and relationships. So this can be quite hefty. This is something that you should not ignore. We also have another siren. There's 7 here, there's 7 here. This is not in the facing or sitting sector, so in general, it's not so important. Now again, in either of these cases, you would have to have Sha Qi to activate it. But I would only be worried about this one if this is the location of your home office, because the 7, the facing star, has to do with finances. The 7 doesn't, but the facing star does. So this has to do with finances, wealth, this kind of thing. So if you're working from here, it could be a problem. But if this is a storeroom, a living room, a bathroom, you don't have to worry about it. I would prefer not to have a kitchen or a bedroom there, but in theory, they should be also okay. You can have both hidden and inverse sirens in the same chart, and that's what we have here. We have an inverse siren, we have an 8 here, we have an 8 here. And this is associated with a Fanyin chart. And that's where the 2 stems in each of the Chimen palaces are opposite one another. And you have to understand how these are opposite. But in Feng Shui, it means that the stars are in opposite locations compared to the inverse chart. So these 2, if you have an 8 here, or a 2 here, if you have a 6 here, or a 4 here, and so forth. That's how it works. And so this is a period 8, northeast 2 or 3 facing house, and it has this inverse siren. Now, this can affect your wealth and finances because it's the facing star and it's in the sitting sector. So that's pretty significant. Also, the sitting stars of all in every single one of these is identical to the low shu. So this is a hidden siren in all sectors. Now, this is a danger to health and relationships. So this house looks really, really bad. So not only does this house have an inverse siren, it has a hidden siren everywhere. However, this house also has the potential for a parent string formation, which will negate any of these problems. But it has to be activated. And in this case, you have to have a mountain behind and in front of the house for this form to be activated. And that all depends on the landforms. So some houses that have this are okay and other houses are not. So all depends on the landforms. In general, blocking sha qi with a living tree or wall can remove the siren, just like it removes the sha qi. And that is certainly helpful. So if you can't, like in the last example, you can't activate the parent string, then this is an option. Again, activation of the special formations override any problems with this. But I would still say block the sha qi, simply because you don't need that. If it's outside a bathroom, don't worry about it. Now, many masters, or at least some, do not believe sirens are real. I do not have enough experience to know whether or not they're real or not real. So I do look at this because I think that the downside can be bad enough that at least we should be a little concerned about it. So that's basically it. I'd like to thank you for watching. Please feel free to contact me here if you have any questions or visit my ad-free website. I'll be having regular videos monthly for some mitigations and other things, and some new videos on occasion. So please feel free to subscribe if you're interested. Thank you again for watching.